Welcome back. We are here with my friend Mike Urban, and this is, of course, the world's greatest agent interviews. And one of the greatest agents that I know in the United States is in Massachusetts, and his name is Michael Urban. So, Michael, welcome to today's interview, and thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me on here. It's an honor to be on your show, for sure.
So, looking at our pictures side by side, it looks a little bit like before and after. I don't know if you put you're the before, I'm the after, but
That's funny.
yeah. Well, so this is what happens after you do a whole bunch of coaching calls. This is what you look like. So you better.
Okay, I'll get prepared for it.
Exactly. Well, so let them know where you sell real estate and just give them a little bit of background, just some, share some info about you so they love you as much as we do.
Okay, so I'll start with where I came from. So I was a blue collar electrician for 10 years, pretty much right out of high school. My dad had a business, and I was in the trenches. I was in the trenches, crawl spaces, attics, 120-degree attics. And, I knew that I didn't want to do that forever. And I knew I wanted to change my life and the trajectory of my life and really the lives of my family, right? So started selling real estate in the Northeast Pennsylvania area and built out a good book of business there. I was one of the top agents for multiple years in a short amount of time there. And then, I wanted to challenge myself. I couldn't do anything else there. I pretty much capped out and decided to take my family, move to Boston, Massachusetts. And here we are. So I have still have my business in Pennsylvania, but also I'm here in the Boston area selling real estate. Been doing this for almost 8 years now.
So tell us about the Boston market. What are you experiencing?
It's crazy here. Like I think many areas where there's a major city, some markets and some neighborhoods within the city are doing very well. Some are not performing as well. And then out in the suburbs, a lot of the suburbs are still really hot. The ones that are cooling off are the ones that received hyper inflated prices during the pandemic. They started to cool off a little bit, but overall, it's like a war zone out here because we still have lack of inventory. And as you know, and probably your listeners, real estate is local. So what happens in one market may not translate to another market. And that's very true here.
I'm going to take a half step back because you said something that kind of intrigued me. So you went right from basically the trades into real estate and were successful right away, which tells me some of the skills that you had in the trades translated directly to selling real estate. And there are a lot of people that do exactly what you did.
Yeah.
What did you find in retrospect were the skills that were transferable that you did maybe at the time didn't realize, and when you were in the trades would be so valuable in
Yeah.
real estate?
So I'll take it a step back even further. If there's listeners out there. So whenever you're trying to do something, especially in regards to real estate, you always want to take some knowledge that you've gained, whether it be like for me in the trades or, maybe you're a consultant for a builder or something like that. You always want to see if you could segue that information, that knowledge, that wisdom that you've gained, and see if you could create something on your own within the same realm, right? So even though I was an electrician, blue collar, wiring homes, industrial, residential, commercial, real electrical work, the reality is you could utilize the knowledge that you gain from something like that into real estate sales. And I really don't necessarily consider myself a salesman, even though I do sell homes. I'm really a problem solver. And the more knowledge that you have, and of course, everything is a learnable skill, but the more knowledge that you have on homes, I think that you are in a position where even if you're not a salesperson and you could talk to people about homes, they appreciate your knowledge. And that's kind of how I segued myself into hyper success in a short amount of time, was by utilizing what I already knew. And maybe I didn't know everything about real estate at the time, not in terms of, let's say, the real estate business and sales, but I knew a lot about homes. And I was able to translate that to both buyers and sellers. And that really is what propelled my career.
So I heard you say, which I think is what you were trying to one of the elements of what you were saying was that being able to explain being able to earn the trust of people to do their electrical work. In some cases, the electrical jobs you were doing, especially on the commercial side, were massive. The
Sure.
way to explain what needed to be done, how it needed to be done, required skills beyond knowing how to actually do the work. So that's where this essentially the arts and the crafts of being a successful, electrician came in.
Correct.
It's fascinating. When Julie and I sold real estate, we went on this listing appointment, and it was a heart surgeon, and the guy was like, I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. He called us over to list two of his rental properties, and Julie and I went into property records. And this guy had probably 5 or 6 pages of rental properties that he owned. So this could be like a massive client of ours. And
Hmm.
we were in like our second year, maybe third year of the business, and we were super nervous. We walked to his massive mansion. I mean, like nothing we've ever seen before, the whole thing.
Right.
His butler, I'm not making that up, sits us in this waiting room. And I'm not a huge person, but this chair was like 3 times bigger than I was. This whole thing
Yeah.
was ridiculous, designed to make you uncomfortable. And he comes in after a while and he sits down. He must have noticed that I was, urinating in his velveteen chair or something. I was nervous. And so he said to me, first thing he said to me, his name was Dr. Paula. The first thing he said to me is he said, you and I are in the same business. And I'm thinking, what? He goes, we're both in the sales business. I have to sell people into doing, heart procedures, and you have to sell people into real estate. And it's like, boom, that light went off in my head. He gave me such a great gift. I mean, that's what you just
Yeah.
said too. Yeah.
Exactly. It's everything in some part of life, no matter what you do, is you're almost in a sales position, right? Like there's always that element, and more so, it's problem solving, right? Like for instance, the heart surgeon. I've actually had heart surgeon clients as well too. When you're going to a doctor, an X, Y, and Z, and they tell you what you need to do, they know what's in your best interest, just like we know what's in the consumer's best interest. And that's exactly how you have to position this. And when you're a professional in the business and you know what you're talking about, you know how to get somebody from point A to point B, whether it be medically or whether it be in real estate, um, you do that, right? Because you're passionate about it.
That bedside manner that you're talking about is a learnable skill too. And you learned it
A
through,
100%.
right.
A 100%.
A lot of people, like if you were to talk to, using staying on the doctor analogy, he could have been the greatest doctor in the world, best tactical, he better than anybody else, but he can't convince people to use him as for procedures. He's never going to succeed. He'll never actually,
Correct.
yeah. So I'm saying this from a coach's perspective, because I know that's a mooring line that keeps a lot of agents from ever becoming anything, because they are not realizing that essentially the most influential, highest paid people on planet Earth always have been and always will be salespeople, be it an electrician, be it a heart surgeon, be it a politician, be it a spiritual or religious leader, be it a real estate agent or a real estate coach. We all are selling. And if you're not selling, you're not making any money. You're not helping any people. It's not that difficult.
Correct. It's about helping people. And,
It
and
is.
that's, I want to segue into something too, if you
Please.
don't mind. So back about 2 years ago, I had to have my hip replaced. Now, I don't know if I'm only 38. At the time, I was 36. And that's very young to have a hip replacement, complete hip replacement. And the doctor that I met that was doing my hip actually used to be a carpenter, believe it or not. And he had, I don't know, I think he hurt his knee or something. That's how he got into the business by, again, wanting to try to help other people. But this guy was a carpenter, right? Working on homes, working with wood, working on X, Y, and Z. Fast forward, this guy does like 500 hip replacements and knee replacements a year. He's like one of the best in the business. And for anybody listening, like, one skill or trade could really translate into another business. And if you're focused, you could be hyper successful no matter what you do.
Yeah, it's true. And I love the fact that you really reeled it back in and focused on the fact that it's about helping other people.
Right.
And that's something else that sometimes that's another epiphany, a light that goes off in people's. When did you realize that you're in the people helping business primarily? Do you remember that?
Immediately. I mean, sometimes you have these sellers or buyers that think they perhaps know more than you, and sometimes they could, right? It absolutely can. But they still need the help, and they really need somebody to guide them to the finish line, right? So it doesn't matter how much they know. It's very difficult to try to sell your house by yourself, in my opinion, and get the most amount of money with the least amount of liability. And the same thing for a buyer. It's very hard to get the best price for a home and take some liability off of yourself, and that's where we step in. When you have that, and you have the good bedside manner, and you're a professional, you know what you're doing. Uh, it all translates into helping people get from point A to point B and be successful, get them across the finish line. They're happy. They raise their family. They relocate. They raise their family in another market. I mean, I knew immediately that that's what it was about.
Well, and again, that's another, it's a psychological trick that we can all kind of play on ourselves truthfully. If you have reluctance to basically have sales conversations with people,
Right.
replace that with, I'm here to help you. And actually physically write that down before you make phone calls. Uh, and almost, it's strange. It's like it has the same power over our mindsets that putting yourself in a state of, appreciation, or a state of, that type of, that the zone where you're
Right.
being appreciative of things, and you can't, in your mind at the same time, you know, sort of scarcity type thoughts can't coexist when you're feeling
Right.
abundance and you're feeling, all the appreciation. So the same goes true that when you put your mindset in a place where you're going to be of service to other people, it's impossible for the ego and the fear feelings to really dominate your behavior, because you're trying to help them. So even if they're a little grumpy, you still are reminding yourself, I'm here to help you. This person just is
Correct.
feeling fearful, and that's the reason those types of thoughts. And you're hitting on a lot of real important things I think everyone needs to be reminded of.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
absolutely.
So let's talk about stuff everyone likes to talk about, right? Let's talk about lead generation. What are your, like, tell us about what you do with that.
So, um, I'll take a step back. So when I first started, because there may be listeners out here that that might be either getting the real estate license or thinking about getting into the business. When I first started, the only things that I focused on was for sale by owners and expireds, right? And I, at the time, I actually, believe it or not, I know you preach making phone calls. Well, we do that now. At the time, I didn't do that as much. Actually, I had a couple methods that I utilized in order to get in front of people and build a deeper relationship. So, for instance, if I saw for sale by owner, of course, I would call the sign, I would text them X, Y, and Z. But then I would look them up on social media, right? And I would see what they're doing on social media. I would start commenting on their photos, friend request them. And then that in turn would build a relationship, because, for sale by owners, sometimes they don't list a home for 2-3 months and they have a million agents calling them, right? Uh, when you get in front of them on, in my opinion, social media, they see what you're doing. They see your family. They see all your sales. They see all these things. It's like an open resume, right? Um, that's how I got in front of a lot of expired listings and a lot of for sale by owners. I really utilized social media for my outreach, and it was, again, hyper successful. I was like in the top, I think, 25 or 35 agents in the entire board within my first 6 months of selling real estate. So went on to being rookie of the year, the whole 9 yards. But that's what I started with. Now, since obviously I have a book of business and stuff like that, it's mostly referrals, and then honestly, my website and my YouTube channel. I generate a ton of business from my YouTube channel. People calling me. Of course, these are like super hot, super warm leads, reaching out to me because I'm providing them with answers to the questions that they have about the market. And
So
that's really,
you said so much there. I love
I
the
know.
first part of what you, no, it's awesome, dude. I love it. So the first thing you were saying is you're using like social media. So
Yeah,
centers of influence and past clients is the best business to get always and forever, right?
of course.
For sure. So what you're doing is you're identifying, let's say, an expired listing that you didn't have any connection with, just basically
Correct.
a stranger, and then you're stalking him on social media, right?
Pretty
And
much.
then what you essentially made yourself was maybe 1 degree separated from a center of influence past client relationship. And then you essentially had that as an advantage when you went to directly speak with them about listing their property. It's a great idea.
Correct. Exactly.
That's exactly what we coach agents to do too. That's the best. I mean, that is the true way you make money with social media. What you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And like I want to take it a step further. No matter what you do, if you want to make 1,000 calls a day or whatever with a triple line dialer, you could do that, but you need to be consistent with it. You can't do it for 2 days, 3 days, a week, and then just be like, all right, I didn't get any leads. Anything you do, you need to be committed to for, I usually say, at least 90 days, if not 6 months, right?
How about the rest of
Because
your
the
life?
results, you know yourself what I'm about to say, but
Yeah.
the effort that you put in is going to translate to results in the future. So that's how it works.
Do what you don't want to do, and you don't want to do at the highest level for
That's
a
it. You're
long,
not going to grow without it.
right?
That's
For
that's all it
long
boils
days.
down to.
for long damn periods of time, usually about 10 times longer than you think you should.
Oh God, geez, I didn't even start getting leads on my YouTube channel. I mean, I did get some initial leads, but like now I'm approaching 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and not every viewer is going to be a buyer or seller, but to have people reaching out to you, um, looking for help. I mean, that's the best thing in my opinion when they're reaching out to you because they're already a hot lead.
So here's what people are doing, and you know this too. By the way, Mike is with EXP. Oh, that's my favorite drink. I drink the grape version. Like I can't live without that, right?
I got you.
uh, so Mike is in our EXP family, and if you're thinking about, it doesn't matter where you are in the country or frankly in the world, if you're ready to move up to EXP, or certainly if you're local to him, but you don't have to be local, and you want this guy as your sponsor, which obviously all of you should. It's someone I would 100% endorse you guys reaching out to. He would be a wonderful sponsor for all of you. So if you've not yet chosen your sponsor and you're looking for a sponsor at EXP Realty, and you want to have Mike be partner with you at EXP, Mike, how do they get in contact with you? What's your cell phone?
They could yeah, they could call me anytime or text me. It's
Okay.
617-686-9299. That's my personal cell phone. Call me, text me there, or alternatively, if you want to email me, it's mike@agenturban.com.
Okay, so say your phone number slower.
617-686-9299.
Okay, so let's go back to your lead generation.
Sure.
I assure you there's agents that are listening right now, and here's all that they heard you say. They didn't hear us say, do what you don't want to do and you don't want to do it at the highest level. They didn't hear you say anything about going after FSBOs or expireds. All they heard was this: YouTube videos, super hot leads. So but you said something I bet you nobody heard. It took you a long time to start ramping up and building relationships basically off YouTube. And you had the income coming from your centers of influence and past client business, which was originally sourced from you doing the FSBOs and the expireds. Did I get all that right? Okay.
Correct. 100%.
So listeners, don't go right to YouTube unless you have a massive amount of money to pay your bills, because
Correct.
The payoff on that is long tail. It's proactive lead generation versus passive lead generation.
Correct. Exactly. You need it's something that will you could utilize. I mean, you could start doing it, but focus on getting now business. That's future business. It could turn into now business too once you get the ball rolling and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm big on productivity. I'm big on time management. I'm big on just trying to do and spend the most effective hours of my day doing what I'm doing. And you could do all these things, but you should really narrow down what you want to do. You should have pillars of business, right? I talk about that a lot, even to our agents in our group. You should have a couple pillars of business where you could pull from. So if one day, perhaps you don't want to make the calls, you should make the calls, but perhaps you don't want to make those calls, then you pivot and you start filming yourself. Or perhaps you pivot and you start reaching out to your past clients or your sphere of influence. You should always have 3 pillars where you're trying to pull leads from. Okay. That's how I do it.
Well, I mean, we in our book we talk about it's spokes on the wheel, pillars, similar analogy, right?
Right.
So the concept, listeners, is that you have to have imagine a bicycle wheel, or his analogy is pillars, right? And then each of those pillars or each of those spokes represent a source of business. And he just said it perfectly. The first spokes you put on the wheel, or the pillars you build underneath your mansion, are going to be those that are proactively lead generating spokes. In other words, leads that you can control. Because here's the pisser of passive lead generation: marketing, branding, postcarding, does not matter what it is. Pay per clicking, it does not matter what it is. You cannot control if you get any leads. You cannot control the quality of the leads. You cannot control the quantity of leads, but you can control how many actual outbound calls you make to those expireds that were in your MLS this morning. You can
Correct.
control how effective you are at that. You can control actually how good you get at that skill set. So if you want to really drill down and make, frankly, I have never ever coached one person who did not build their business base exactly like he did. That has built a long-term sustainable business with large profit margins. We should talk about that too.
Yeah, we will.
Agents that buy all their business and essentially fall prey to the fallacy that they can buy buyer leads and what's happened over the last 10 years especially is that the margins on those leads, the commissions have been compressed, and at the same time the referral fees have increased. And so the amount of profit you're making from those leads, now you got to pay a buyer's agent, now you got to pay your broker, now you got to pay all the rest of it. Most of these larger teams, they're being honest about it too. And most of the people I talk to, they're losing money on their buyer sides now. So
Hmm.
so when you're thinking about your business plan and you're thinking about net profit, revenue, number of units, all of this stuff gets conflated in people's minds. What is your primary focus? Do you focus on profit as your primary driver?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's expenses with every business, and if you're a listener, you want to get into this. A lot of people don't realize this, and Tim, you may know what I'm about to say, but a lot of people don't treat this as a business, okay? And you need to treat it as a business, period. But I focus the metrics. I'm a big numbers guy. The stuff that I focus on is purely just the profitability of things. I mean, obviously, we'll try different marketing, we'll try this, we'll try that, especially in a new market. We've tried different things, and some things work very well and some things don't. I can't even tell you, I don't have enough fingers to tell you how many billboards I've had in my life. And I still, it's funny, I paid for a billboard in the best school district in their gymnasium, right? I did this like 3 or 4 years ago. Somebody sent me a picture. I thought they took it down because it was only a 2-year contract and, it was all paid up and everything. Somebody sent me a picture the other day from a billboard a big one, a lit billboard in a gymnasium for the best school district in the county. I've never received one call from that billboard ever. Never received. It's got to be up for 4 years now, 4+ years. And I'm the only realtor in there. Okay. So you measure what works, you measure what doesn't, and you make adjustments from there. But
I,
you got to be
I,
consistent with it.
Okay, I'm going to make you go back in time, and I want to talk to the dumb Mike Urban that originally signed up for that billboard.
Yeah,
Okay, I want to talk to the dummy version of you from a few years ago.
sure.
So I want to know what the dummy version of you was thinking when he spent that money on that billboard in the first place. How did they fool you into doing it?
Um, it was in my backyard. And honestly, what I was trying to do was there was originally, I think, another agent on there or a broker from a company. And it was more of an in spite because they've done all kinds of, you know how it is. This business could be challenging when it comes to certain broker owners and companies and stuff like that. And it was more so a snub to them. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it wasn't all, yes, I didn't get any business from it, but more so taking them off there and putting me up there was more of the highlight for me. Would I do that again? Probably not. I don't have those feelings anymore. And I talk about this a lot to the agents, especially the top producers in our group, especially young top. We have I think in our group I think we have 5 or 6 icon agents, which is a lot. And
Really?
some of those,
Wow,
oh yeah, some of those are brand new licensed agents, which is absolutely amazing.
dude.
It just so the listeners know, like, how many icon agents are there at EXP? 3,500, 4,000, something in
Yeah, but
that
I mean,
vicinity.
we should tell them. So an icon is after you hit a $16,000 cap, if you sell an additional 20 units or have a total GCI of $500,000, I'm oversimplifying it, but the gist of it is you get your
Yeah.
$16,000 cap back in the form of EXPI stock. And to hit that as a new agent, that's rockstar status. You're clearly doing a fantastic job in your group, Mike. Good
Yeah,
job.
there's thank you. Yeah, there's quite a few of them, and they all have their tried different things, and they ask me, and everybody thinks everybody wants to be on a billboard, but what I wanted to just touch base on while we're on the topic is staying humble. And at the time that I had that billboard up, I was more vindictive in a way, and this business kind of wears you down. And you stop worrying about those things, and you stop worrying about everybody else, and you try to collaborate with other people. And that's really what we've been doing. And in our group is called the Launchpad. That's why we've had a lot of success with agents coming over to work with us, because we lift them up, and
I love
we
it,
try
man.
to,
It's beautiful.
yeah, we
You
try to
guys
do the
can see
best we
why
can.
you guys can see why we love this guy. So what's your phone number again? So if someone wants to work with you at EXP?
Sure, it's 617-686-9299.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question that I asked on a clubhouse 2 years ago, and it was
Is
one
that
of
still around or no?
I don't know, dude. I don't do it.
It was
Yeah,
hot for a minute, right?
it was hot for a minute during COVID, but our little
Yeah,
group got to be so big, and I couldn't manage it, and people wouldn't let me
yeah,
get off the thing. I was on there for like 4 hours a day. It was really
yeah.
great. I mean, honestly, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed connecting
Sure,
with
of
people
course.
so much. So I asked this question to start out the clubhouse. I asked the question: would you rather be, if you can only choose one, to be famous or to be rich? Which would you choose? And some people have this sort of like, ugh, rich. They don't they have emotional disconnect with it. So Rich
Hmm.
is merely where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. You're basically having enough money coming in passively anymore to pay all of your bills. So
Right.
you have to choose between being famous and being rich. And I would have asked the 25-year-old Mike, right? What do you think you would have chosen? Be honest.
That's a tough question to answer. I think at the time I would have probably preferred to be famous, right? Maybe. I think that the billboards, all of that stuff, a local celebrity status. I mean, when I wasn't an agent and you see an agent on a billboard, you're like, wow, they're probably hyper successful, all these other things. And it's not necessarily the case. Some people are spending their last dollar on a billboard, right? But yeah, I think, and being rich could mean a lot of different things. It's not only about the money, it's about the life that you provide yourself and your family. Same thing with success, right? That's really ultimately what this is all about. And I'd rather be rich in the sense of having enough money, having enough income, and being financially stable and being able to take care of my wife and my kids. And that's pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect. And you're I don't even have to ask you the secondary question. If you had to choose that now, which would you choose? You'd obviously choose to be rich, where
Of
your money
course.
works for you, you no longer work for. Well, that was what the whole clubhouse was about. And there was a guy that was on there that was, I'm guessing, in his 60s or his 70s, and he started talking, and he went all the way. I think I had some connection to him in retrospect. But
Hmm.
anyway, he went all the way back to his 20s, and he was telling this story, and you could hear with regret in his voice. In my 20s, I wanted to be famous. In my 30s, I wanted to be famous. When I was in my 40s, I started realizing I shouldn't have wanted to be famous because I spent all my profit trying to be famous. And then he stepped on, he kept on and he said, now at this point in my life, I wish I would have made different decisions. And I wish I would have focused on things that gave me financial freedom. It's the biggest regret of my life. And
Yeah, I
I,
get it. I could take that a step further if you want. I think a lot of it
please,
for me was, and there may be listeners in the same position. Like when I was in high school and everything, you know, I was relatively the popular guy there, but I didn't never really applied myself because I just didn't find anything. I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Ultimately, I knew that I would probably, be an electrician, grow up in the trade, stuff like that, because my father was, he's a business owner for forever, and my grandfather was a business owner, and my uncle, everybody had businesses in my family, to be honest with you. So I knew that I kind of wanted to do something like that. I just didn't know what it was going to be. But with that being said, I always felt like classmates, while they liked me and stuff like that, I think they looked down on me academically because I was not gifted. At least at the time, I wasn't gifted academically because I never applied myself. And I think that the famous thing, especially being local famous, um, and this is really me opening up here, so I hope your listeners are paying attention. But
I appreciate it.
yeah, sure. I think that the like being at least locally famous was just to like, essentially show off and just be like, hey, I made it. You know what I mean? I didn't need to go to college and study in X, Y, and Z. But in retrospect, again, none of that stuff really mattered. I'd rather have spent money or saved money, let's say, so that I could build a better foundation for myself and my family versus, trying to prove everybody that probably I went to high school with that might have thought like, I wonder what Mike Urban is doing. He's probably, you know, wiring houses for $10 an hour or something, whatever they think, how it is in the trades. Like people think you don't make any money. Oh, at least they used to back in the day. That's kind of how it was looked upon. It was like, you were looked down upon. Now it's a big thing. But yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the famous or wanted to have billboards and stuff, like in my opinion, at least for me.
And there's most people don't outgrow that desire to be famous. They're looking for
Yeah,
outside, it's strong human desire for recognition, basically, and they'll
yeah.
do
I
that
mean,
for entire
everybody has
life.
it, right? I mean, we all to a point have it, but ultimately you need to focus on what's important.
Well, the breakthrough is when people realize that most people spend 99.9% of their lives only thinking about themselves. And once you really actually have that breakthrough, then it allows you to, and that defrags your ego from your decision making process.
Yeah,
And you folk that's I love what you're saying because I know it's going to have a meaningful impact on enough people that we just frankly hopefully save them from a lot of pain and anguish of making bad
I hope
decisions.
so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I've done it
well
all. I know what works and doesn't work, as do you.
well, it's the pisser of life in general is, again, it goes back to doing what you don't want to do and you don't want to do at the highest level. I mean, how many of the
That's
things
it.
that you do how many of the things you do every day for work do you really like enjoy doing? I mean, is having passion for make calling an expired, is that required in your world?
I mean, you could have a passion for helping people, and I think
That's
that that's comes with the mindset, right? But you don't necessarily have to have a passion for jumping on a triple line dialer and trying to make 500 phone calls within the next 3 hours. Like, that could be grueling for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Um, and I'll segue into this. Like, you don't. I mean, again, I started by doing that, and again, I was making phone calls. A lot of it was social media and stuff, but it depends on how much money you have. Like, this is getting a little detailed here, but if you have some money and you could essentially focus on certain things, focus on what you like doing. There's obviously things you're going to not like doing, but you know if you focus on a couple of things and again pull from your pillars, you could be successful. There's ways to be successful, and it could be meeting people for coffee. Like, grab 100 people from your friends list on Facebook and meet them for coffee every single day. Spend $5, $10 a day on coffee. I guarantee you will get business from doing that. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, as they say. You know what I mean? There really is.
You're saying something else too, and I want to pull it out so everyone's listening to what you're saying. You just said, this is the third iteration of what you said. If you want to make money now, and if you want to help people, get in front of as many people as you can, as fast as you can, and
That's all it
just be
takes.
yourself. Just be yourself, and you don't have to be some sort of aggressive salesperson. Just
No,
be yourself at Orange Theory. Be yourself at the dog park. Be yourself, and then real estate inevitably comes up because everybody's interested in real estate.
everybody.
That's how you can be yourself, not feeling like you're but don't be a secret agent. Don't be
Right,
afraid
you
to talk
can't be a
about real
secret
estate.
agent. Right, exactly. But in turn, if you're passionate about it and people recognize that you're passionate about it and you're a professional about it, you don't need to come off as like some big wig. Like, even for instance, not that I want to go down this rabbit hole, but like even listing appointments. Like, sometimes people come in with like this whole arsenal of things and this that. Like, I just sit at the table and talk to these people like they're on the same level as me, and that's why I win like 99% of listing appointments that I go on, because you sit down and level with people, and you talk to them like human beings. And the more you practice that and the more personable you are, the more business you will get. My dad was an electrician for 40 years. He never had a flyer, an advertisement. He never had any of those things ever, was never in the paper. And guess what? His phone would ring off the hook all the time. You want to know why? Because of how he treated people, right? And the quality of work. Of course, you got to back it up with how, your quality of work, but it's about how you talk to and treat people. If you treat them like human beings and you level with people, you could be no matter what industry you're in, you'd be very, very successful.
It is ironic that the trades are some of the highest paid professions, and
It's
it's like,
crazy now. It's
isn't it
crazy.
nuts? Yeah, I'm 53 and you're 38, and you said, like, I remember clearly what you're saying. Like, a trades was the fallback to the fallback, right? But
Yeah.
now, but now the smart people are thinking, well, I'm going to be an electrician because in most markets, you can make millions of dollars to
I
just
mean,
have a
they're
car.
making 200 and some dollars an hour here as an electrical contractor. I mean, you can
Isn't
make
that awesome?
a
Yeah.
ton of money in the trades. But like I said, back in high school, back, in the late 90s, it was really looked down, in my opinion, like everybody looked down upon, because media, everybody was pushing, you got to go to, I mean, they still do, right? You got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to get a job, whatever it is. Um, and yeah, I just took an alternate route.
So you were talking about YouTube videos, and again, listeners, you did hear him say, he was very clear, do the proactive lead generation first. You can
Correct.
do the YouTube videoing and all the creative ventures that everyone seems to like secondarily, but you got to shore up your cash flow. And the way you build your basis of your business, there's a NAR study that came out that said something like, after an agent's been in the business for 5 years, something like 80% of all their business comes from centers of influence and past clients. I might have the numbers wrong, but you guys are
You're
getting the
close.
point. It's close. So now, once you got that working and you want to do some other things, if you choose to do other things, YouTube, I agree with you 100%, is definitely where it's at. The video format is definitely going to be more, if you go on your mobile phone, I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, and you do a search for, homes for sale in, Murfreesboro, Tennessee or whatever,
Hmm.
almost always on mobile, the first search results are YouTube shorts, which is
Right.
amazing.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And it piggybacks on also having a website. And I just created my website recently. and I post blog content on the website. And I'm not telling people to do this to start, right? I'm in a position where I could do these things, but but anyway, just funneling people into the website from searching on Google, like where's the best place for young professionals to live outside of Boston, and then also backing that up with a video. It all, yourself, it's all interconnected,
It is.
and you could build a big database by doing stuff like that.
Let me give you an idea that, and all listeners obviously are going to get this idea too. The newsletter, starts funneling them to a newsletter, and the newsletter is going to be all the content you're normally putting on a website. But the newsletters are designed so that you can then easily create lists off the newsletter. So there's an app that is called Beehive. It's spelled weird though, like Beehiiv.
That's
And
what I
just
use.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so
Yeah.
that newsletter product that guy created is awesome because it's templated, and you send people to your newsletter, and a newsletter is vastly superior at communicating value in an authoritative manner versus any agent website, in my opinion. Yeah,
100%. But what we did was we started with the newsletter, and I created it almost as like a newspaper. It's called the Boston
yeah,
Brief, right?
nice.
So I created an entire newsletter, and what it has is an introduction. Then it has my latest YouTube video. Then it has local things going on in the market in regards to real estate, building, selling, and stuff like that. Then sometimes I'll have something about like local sports, the Celtics, the Patriots, stuff like that. And obviously, it's for people to get in touch with me and connect with me. Then what we did is built a website out on the back end called thebostonbrief.com as well. So people are coming into either the newsletter or into the website. And it's all interconnected. And that newsletter goes out on a weekly basis to all of my past clients and then people that are subscribing from YouTube or from wherever. And it's really creating this multiple streams of leads coming in that need help. And
And they're overlapping too. And
everything, exactly, everything
yeah,
is overlapping, and that's how you really create a bigger business is by, I would say, I will say this: time is our only non-renewable resource. So you need to be very, very strategic with your time. That's why for sale by owners expires when you get started. You start getting the ball rolling, you start getting money. Then once you get to a certain point, then you start building up another pillar, something like a newsletter, something like a website, something like a YouTube channel. And then once you start getting everything optimized and people start Googling things and you pop up, you're everywhere. You're everywhere. And it's
so
really hard to use another
let,
agent because they see you everywhere.
let me drill down on something you said just to get your opinion. What you did not say stop doing the proactive lead generation,
Correct.
replace it with passive lead generation. Okay, that's really important because what agents will hear is I got to do the real work of real estate until the point where I've got enough centers of influence and past clients, and then I can stop calling the visible, stop calling the expireds. Guys, the key is to always do the pro. Actually, we should talk about schedules too.
Yeah, we
But
will.
the key is to do the proactive lead generation every day, scheduled, and then all the passive stuff comes secondarily. And we've had droves, thousands of coaching clients that only get really good at the proactive lead generation, never do the passive lead generation, and have very, very profitable
Yeah,
businesses.
you don't
So,
even have to do the passive stuff if you don't want to.
right,
The
exactly.
issue, and I'll just touch on this for a minute. The issue with only doing the proactive stuff is that you always need to be proactive, right? So, like, if
Yes.
you're on vacation or you're doing this or you're doing that, if you're not making an outbound phone call, you're essentially you may not be getting business, right? So it's you have to piggyback on all of these things. Obviously, building your database by calling expireds, FISBOs, past clients, whatever. That's a key to the business. But on the back end, if you want to be hyper successful and you want freedom, right? Like, you want to have some financial freedom, but you also want to have some freedom to do things with yourself, your family, X, Y, and Z. The passive stuff that's prospecting for you, like videos and stuff like that. I mean, it's like having my YouTube channel is like having an ISA team for me, right? That's constantly, I'm still getting views and leads from videos that I recorded 2 years ago. So that on the back end, after you've built up your call lists, your expired, your for sale by owners, you could continue to do those things, but sometimes it's okay to back off and take a break and sometimes reflect, right? Go read a book, and still have inbound leads coming in. So it's twofold,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Makes perfect sense. So let's talk about the videos, and then let's talk about schedule.
Sure.
So the videos, what are the like if you're coaching somebody in your revenue share group and somebody asks you, I want to create some YouTube videos, what would be the top 3 to 5 absolute foundational videos you should create on YouTube?
I would say pros and con videos of whatever busiest market that you're in or city that you're in is going to get a lot of views, right? Like the pros and cons of living in Boston, Massachusetts, right? I may have even looked that up before I moved here. Okay. Um, then maybe a video called Living in Boston, Massachusetts, which might not even have to do with real estate. And I want to get that point across. Not every single video has to deal with real estate. It could be things to do in the area. Okay. It could be talking about places to take your children. There's a lot of different things you could do for videos, but pros and cons are always very good. Affordable places to live is another big one, right? So one of my best videos is, I think it's like best Boston, might be best Boston neighborhoods or most affordable Boston neighborhoods or something like that. And obviously, if you live in an area that's very expensive, I think the median sale price here is like $750,000. People want to find a good, a cheap price point to live in if they want to move here. So anything where it's affordable, stuff like that. You got to remember, put yourself in the shoes of the buyer, right? Like that's the key. What are they looking for, right? What would you be looking for if you moved to a completely new market and
That's
take
me.
it?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, and take it from there and making it SEO friendly. So a lot of times, like Tim said before, to piggyback on what he said, if you're looking for a home in Boston, Massachusetts, maybe you want to pop up on a YouTube short on Google in the YouTube format because they're linked, right? Google owns YouTube, so you always want to make sure your titles and your everything is just SEO optimized, keyword optimized, and stuff. Again, you go down a rabbit hole with this stuff, but once you're in it, you learn it, you do it, you're consistent with it, you're successful with it.
Well, you can delegate it too. I mean, there's a lot of, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
there's VAs that basically you do the video, you ship it off to them, and they do all the Mickey Mouse for you, and it's not that expensive.
that's what I do. So I'm at a point
Me too.
where all of my videos I send out to editors. They edit my videos, and because I don't have it's more valuable. You know, your time is valuable. It's more valuable to record more videos and send them out to be edited versus spending hours and hours and hours editing your own videos. And you're not pumping out as much content.
Yeah, and it really, if Anne, who is our show producer, who's listening in right now, she does all that for us. She oversees her team of people that do it, and they do a fantastic job. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, this is I think inspiring for a lot of folks. What is the hardest when you're dealing with new agents in your group, in
Hmm.
your revenue share group, in your team basically? What are the biggest challenges most, let's just say, new agents are having right now? Like, what are the things, if you could just wave a magic wand, these 1 or 2 things would no longer be issues for agents, mindset wise or whatever, what would those things be?
I mean, it all boils down to mindset, but daily schedule. A lot of people don't put together a daily schedule. They don't have a task list or some sort of task manager. They don't. They just they have no plan, and they're looking for a plan. And being consistent and sticking to a plan. So having the plan of what you need to do and then doing the things you need to do, right? A lot of people will research forever of what they need to do and then they never apply those things. And they get again sucked down into a rabbit hole of all the best methods. I mean, there's a million things you could do in real estate to generate business. Um, but they learn all the methods, but they never do them. So they think they're being productive because they're learning how to do things, but then they never react or have action on those items. So that's the hardest thing. And a lot of times, as I said before earlier in the video, they think this is not a business. And people that get into real estate think that they could survive and thrive off of friends and family's business. It's not the case. Okay. You just cannot survive on just friend and family business if you actually want to have a business. So daily tasks, daily schedule, your weekly tasks, like what's your one big thing you want to get done this week? What are your 5 things that you want to get done in a day? And that's it. I mean, if I could wave that wand and tell everybody this is how many calls you need to make, this is when you should do follow up, and all of those things, they would probably be successful. But not everybody wants to do that and stick to the plan. That's it.
I agree. And 100%.
You
Love how
know,
you
I
said
mean,
it.
it is what it is. It's like that with every business. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Love
every
that with
business
life.
has its challenges, and it's like that with every business.
Yeah. And it's funny. You get into real estate because you don't want a boss. You want to have freedom of your schedule and your time, which is similar to the first point, and you want to have unlimited income. And like, congratulations! As soon as you get your license and you join a brokerage, you've accomplished the first two goals. But most people never accomplish the third because
Right.
they're not willing to. Guess what? Do what they don't want to do when they don't want to do it at the highest level. Tell us about your schedule.
Okay, so that's a great question. My schedule normally is ironed out for me the day prior. Okay, so before I finish my day, if there's, I usually try to get done with five things in a day. Okay, and those five things could be items that I need to take care of. It could be documents, it could be paperwork, it could be doing referral stuff like that. But no matter what, those things normally get done in the afternoon. My mornings are set for a few things. Okay. Number one is lead gen, whether it be, you know, calling expireds or FISBOs, okay, or even reaching out to my past clients. Everything is done in the morning because I'm fresh, I'm ready to go. And that's usually what I do for a good hour or two, 3 hours. It really depends on the day. Then my afternoons are for follow up of like things that I need to do and the tasks that I actually have to complete. If I have to upload documents to my TC or stuff like that, right? I'll check those off of my list. But normally in the afternoon, I try to get done with the hardest. It's called eating the frog, right? You may have heard that before. Trying to take care of my hardest task first, other than making calls. That may be your hardest task, okay? But like the most time consuming thing or the most annoying thing, I'll try to do first in the afternoon. Some people don't open their emails in the morning. I normally will start the day opening my email and at least organize. I could send you a screenshot of this, but my inbox has four layers. I have the left side of my inbox is incoming emails. The right side, I have three labels. I have actionable items, which is emails that I need to take action on. The next level in label is waiting, which is me waiting for a lead to respond, an agent to respond, a lender to respond, and I could see all those emails. And then my third layer of my inbox is my basically references, my read throughs, something that I might need to reference in the future. So I'll take my inbound emails, it could be leads, it could be X, Y, and Z. And if that's an actionable item that I can't do in like 2 minutes time, I'll put them in my action item label. I get done with that, but I don't go back to my inbox until the afternoon. Does that make sense?
It does. I get what you're saying. So like, if you could coalesce your day down to the three most important activities, or maybe it's fewer, maybe it's more that you absolutely positively hold yourself accountable doing every day, minimum standard, what would those things be? Like
Re,
you will not, you will
Absolutely.
not, yeah, go ahead.
Obviously reaching out to expireds, reaching out to for sale by owners, reaching out to past clients, or I'm sorry, not past clients, but leads that are in my pipeline that are currently either looking to buy and or sell a home.
All right, let's
100%.
focus. So you said proactive lead generation happens every single day. Do you hold yourself
100%.
accountable? Do you hold yourself accountable to the number of contacts you make with
I don't
proactive
do.
lead generation?
I know a lot of people that do that. Like they have marbles in a jar, and they'll take the marbles out of the jar and put them in another jar. You know what I mean? If they didn't make as many contacts, I don't necessarily do that. I try to get done as much as I possibly can within the time restraints allowed. And if I don't do that, you try again the next day, right? The key is building the habit and the routine of doing it, right? It's not about the results per se, it's about the habit of doing it. And if you could do as much as you possibly can, sometimes somebody will keep you on the phone for 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it could be difficult to make a whole bunch of calls, but you might be building a relationship there, right? So, no, I don't try to like hit a certain, I don't care about those metrics. I care about how much is in my bank account at the end of the year metrics, right? Um, and that's kind of, that's kind of the way that I look at it.
Well, that's the smartest way to look at it because that's the ultimate litmus test as you a real estate
Exactly.
practitioner, business person.
Exactly.
One of the things, so when we have people that show up in our orbit coaching clients, and they all want to know how many contacts versus appointments set versus listings taken, the normal grind, and sometimes it's just overwhelming, and they get back to the state you were talking about, getting ready to get started, consternation, just all this analytical stuff overwhelms them,
Hmm.
and so I make them I make them a deal, and this usually is something everyone loves. So here's the deal: you set one pre-qualified listing appointment a day, and then you don't have to make any more calls. That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, right, you could set yourself up for something like that. I mean, I know that
Right.
some people have different programs that they try to follow where, they try to get a certain amount of emails or contacts or something like that or appointments. And I don't really, maybe I should do that a little bit more often. I don't really do that, but I just try to do the best I can with the time that I have allowed. And that's pretty much, I mean, that's again, what's effective for me and the way I handle it when, again, going down that rabbit hole of really micromanaging these things could change for certain people. You know what I mean? Life comes in the way. You have things going on, you have family and stuff like that. But overall, my mornings are always set for lead gen. Always 100%.
What are you looking forward to? I mean, you're a young man. What are you looking forward to over the next, say, before you turn 40, when you're no
Before I
longer,
turn 40, I really
when you
want,
your hair is going to be white. I'm just giving
oh,
you
for
this.
sure.
So look, this is your future.
I know I took a screenshot on my computer, so just for reference and for recall. But what am I looking forward to? I mean, honestly, my biggest passion right now is doing really what we're doing now and helping agents get from point A to point B is one of my big passions because I see a lot of I know how I was and I knew that even though I was working with my dad, and stuff like that for 10 years, I knew I didn't want to do that forever. And coming from a place where I went to high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and finding success in real estate, I think anybody could have some success or a lot of success in real estate and build the lives that they want. And I feel very, just like you guys, I feel very passionate about helping people get or start at the finish or start and get to the finish line as agents. And that's very, ever since I joined EXP, really, before I joined EXP, I didn't really care too much, not care, but I still helped agents, but you're at a different league there. I think I want to be at least 250, maybe 300 agents by the time I'm 40 years old. I mean, we're definitely going to get 100 by, I would think by July. I would like 500 agents, by then, or 1,000 agents, of course. But I'm trying to set realistic goals too, based on the metrics that we've seen of agent influx and stuff, and just helping them get from point A to point B, and more so just proving people wrong about this industry and what you can do in certain brokerages. And you could be successful anywhere, right? Anybody could be successful anywhere, but being successful, having multiple sources of income, and more importantly, gaining more time. If you're out there, you have a family, stuff like that, ever since I had kids, you want to spend as much time as you can with them. That's the most important thing to me. Generating more revenue and business, of course, but also getting more time.
That's the reason, obviously. The definition of rich is where your money works for you, and you no longer have to
Yep,
work for your money, which means you can do less of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest
exactly.
level, and you can
Exactly.
move into the state of doing whatever the hell you want to do, whatever the hell you want to do it, at whatever level you want to, with whoever you want to do it with.
Right. You
I
put the
mean,
hard
that's
work in first and then you reap
right.
the benefits on the back end, but you need to do the first thing, which is the hard work, period.
So you touched on a few things there, and we can kind of round the bend on this. But what did joining EXP? Obviously, that was a big decision for you. You were one of the, I think, you were one of the reasons that your market has really taken off as far as agents joining EXP and the rest of it. You're definitely a catalyst for so much amazing success in the marketplace. What has EXP meant to you? And your mind went right to it because I asked you, what's your goal for the next 24 months? And now you're thinking in terms of revenue share and passive income. Can you talk a little bit about having that EXP path to follow for the sake of creating revenue that comes in passively, what that's meant to you?
Yeah. So, um, I'll back up a little bit. So I started with a mom and pop place, and I remember paying some years over. I just talked about this last night. Over $80,000 or $90,000 in commissions, right, to the company I worked for. Then on top of that, they also had a title company. Okay, so a lot of my deals were getting. We didn't funnel our buyers any way or the other. We would always give them the choices, but the title company was making like $40,000 or $50,000. I mean, it was easily anywhere between $130,000 to $150,000. I was going back to the company then, and I look at again, it was a learning experience, right? But I look at that and I'm like, man, I lost so much money, and it's a lot of money that I could have made. But then I went to another company. I went to Keller Williams, and that was, I still have friends at Keller Williams and stuff like that. But ultimately, their values didn't align with what I wanted to build. I think you could build an empire at EXP, and I think that if you want to have more levels of financial freedom, EXP is a place to do it. And here's the thing: when you're an agent working for another company, I don't care who it is, us top producing agents, a lot of times we don't even want to go to the office. You want to know why we don't want to go to the office? Because we get put in the hot seat. And every agent that's coming up in X, Y, and Z is asking you a million questions. And don't get me wrong, we're helpful. We like talking to people. We want to help people get from point A to point B. But EXP is easily one of the only places, and I want you to remember this, it's one of the only places where you could be compensated for your time helping agents, period. Okay? Time is valuable. The older that you get, you may be younger listening to this or watching this, whatever it may be, but the older that you get, family, wife, kids, you start to value time differently. Okay? Time, and especially once you get up into your 40s or 40 plus, time goes by so fast, and people start leaving your life, right? Like parents, family members, uncles, aunts, all these things are happening. So you want to spend as much time as humanly possible doing the things that you want to do, okay? And EXP is the catalyst. It is the stepping stone to agents having financial freedom. 100%.
Dude, I want to join. Will you be my sponsor? I'm in.
Yeah,
Sold.
let's go. Let's go. We'll take you in.
Yeah, that's inspiring. Yeah, I mean it's beautiful too because you really can create financial freedom. It's making it super practical. If you have to earn $10,000 a month, and to make it so that let's just say whatever your number is, pick a number to pay all your personal bills. So if you had $10,000 coming in a month passively, and I'm not saying stop working or anything like that. I'm just saying probably for most people that would be it would be freeing for them. Comes in passively, you don't have to work for it. $10,000 pays all your bills, gives you a sense of financial security. You know, in some markets it's 5,000, some markets it's 3,000, some markets 100,000, whatever the number is. Revenue share gets you there faster than anything I've ever seen, aside from winning the lottery or taking a company public. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it before. I mean, Julie and I have dozens of rental properties, and the amount of money that we're making from revenue share, and we've been buying rental properties for 30 years, and the amount of money we made we eclipsed the money from revenue share eclipsed the profit from the rental property cash flow within like 3 years.
Yeah.
We've taken 30 to build. So if you're thinking, well, how am I ever going to get to the point where I'm rich, where my money's working for me, I don't know I'm working for my money. If you need $10,000 a month, you're going to have millions of dollars in the stock market or paid off rental properties to produce that. Just do the math.
It's a lot. It's a lot of rental properties. Depending on your market, you could figure out how many doors you need to have in order to generate that amount of money. And I want to piggyback on something, if you don't mind. So it's, of course, about being financially free, creating your own schedule, doing what you need to do, helping people. But, the more, so when Tim and I are talking about, $5,000, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month in revenue share, it's twofold, right? Because it's about the effort that you're putting into the agents that are in your downline that are now being successful. So yes, the more money that we are making as your sponsor just means that you are doing the things you need to do to be successful in life and your business. Period. That's all it is. So if you have $10,000 coming in and then the next year you have $15,000 coming in or X, Y, and Z, yes, it's usually more agents and stuff like that, but they still need to be productive agents. So on the back end, they're getting trainings, they're learning things, they're doing all of these things. So it's twofold. You're being compensated for your time. And if you are an agent that is looking to join EXP and you want to have multiple sources of income, you want to see what happens behind the curtain, I mean, you would be making a very wise choice for yourself and your family.
You would, and you'd be making even a wiser choice if you chose Mr. Michael Urban to be your sponsor.
Hey,
And remember, you don't have to be in Boston, Massachusetts.
you could
You
be
don't have
anywhere.
to be.
We have agents in Boston. We have agents in Pennsylvania. We have agents in Florida. We have agents in where's the other area? Somewhere on the West Coast. We have an agent over there. We're about to onboard a couple agents up in Maine. So it doesn't really matter where you are. The dynamics of real estate are applicable no matter where you are in the world. Okay. It's just having people that are supporting you as an agent. And I hate using the word mentor or holding somebody accountable, but somebody that could level with you and tell you you need to do based on your personality or based on what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And them being honest with you. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, man, I love it. So again, if they want to text you probably or call you, what would be the phone number?
It's 617-686-9299.
Anything else you'd like to say to these guys as we hit end?
Um, Use your time wisely. Don't waste time. Really don't know how much time that you have. Again, it's the only non-renewable asset that you have. Once you get into this business, figure out what your schedule is, figure out what you want to do, then figure out what you don't want to do and do what you don't want to do. Because as Tim said, that's really what it takes to be hyper successful. And then, if you're looking for a change or you're not happy where you're at, you're thinking about getting out of the business, sometimes all it takes is a little spark from somebody else that guides you to where you're looking to go. And
Yeah.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, man, I love it. Thank you for being our world's greatest agent interviewee for today. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Have a good day, buddy.
Have a fantastic day.
You
God
too.
bless you and have a wonderful day. And say hi to your wife and you. You have 2 kids, right?
Yeah, 2 kids. Yep.
Yeah, amazing. All right, cool. Have a good day.
Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.